Welcome to another episode of Prepper Talk Radio, radio for the ready-minded. We are here live and coming at you. Well, we're not live, but we're coming at you anyways. We're Scott, Shane, and Paris in the house. Super excited to bring this episode to you. We're going to talk about alternative sources of energy and ways to what we can do to kind of, when the light grid goes down or lights go out, what we can do to kind of keep things on, keep things going, and be prepared for that. Before we do that, though, we want to make sure you go check out our website, preppertalkradio.com. If you go to the top there, you'll see recommendations. If you click on recommendations, you can scroll down and you'll see we have an affiliate link with Lion Energy and Opus Energy. Those are some power banks that we have tested and used and recommend. And there's a ton out there that are really good. So those are just ones we have an affiliate link for. So if you'd like to support the show and get your alternative sources of energy, that's a great way to do it. Also, please, we're trying to get our YouTube channel to the point where we're monetized, and we're super close on the watch hours. We've got all the subscribers that we need, but we just need some help on the watch hours. So if you'll go, frankly, all you have to really do is just open it, hit play. You can even mute it, but you can just play that thing in the background and let that thing run. We have playlists where you can just back to back have those things going. And we'd love to have you support the show by helping us get monetized on YouTube as well. So without further ado, we're going to jump right into the topic today, which is, again, alternative sources of energy. It's one of the 10 foundations and self-sufficiency that we talked about a couple months ago. And we want to just kind of round it off now with this. This would be technically number 9 of 10. So we have one more single episode to go to finish out the 10 fundamentals. And then we'll have all 10, I think. Is that right, guys? I think we've done all 10 after the next time we go.
I think we have a few to catch up on still.
Yep. I think we want to do food preservation. We're trying to get a guest for food preservation. And so we got a couple to go, but we're definitely trying to finish out that where we deep dive into each one of the topics. And tonight we're deep diving into alternative sources of energy. So without further ado, Scott, Shane, what are your thoughts? First of all, how you guys doing? And
it's been a couple weeks now for me. So apologize.
Reruns, blasts from the past, the last couple of episodes. So we're back and ready to rock and roll. Episode 483. This is 483 today. So I think we gotta have a meeting of the masterminds here to figure out what we want to do, something special for the 500th.
I got some giveaway stuff from our good friends over at Survival Frog. Go over to survivalfrog.com. They've got some tasty meats. We're going to be giving some of this away, some other some cool hatchets and other fun stuff. But survivalfrog.com, use the promo code PrepperTalk10. In the meantime, it'll help us get more giveaway stuff for you guys. But honestly, I really enjoyed the week off. I think that was my first week off I've taken from the podcast in like 8 months. I don't know. It's been a while.
To be honest with you, if my wife didn't remind me, I would have forgotten tonight. So,
oh dang!
So I was just up doing my thing, and finishing up my work, and was about to go get gas or something like that. Gas up the truck. And I'm like, oh yeah, I got to do the podcast. I was prepared. I already had my notes yesterday and a little bit earlier today. So
what's funny is we've been chatting back and forth for 3 days, and I'm like, I'm all ready. Yep. I've got my notes. That's hilarious that you were about to go get some gas, which is perfect because this is about having energy.
Well, my mind was elsewhere. Thank goodness. It's awfully nice not to dwell on these topics. I texted you guys a bunch last night. Sent some texts out late. So I was just focused on. I was in Instagram, right, and I was just going. These videos were popping up about this coming weekend, right? About everything that's going on around the world. All these just short clips. And I'm just feeling very apocalyptic, and it kept me up, much longer than I'm usually up.
I was
one short after another.
I was almost asleep, and all of a sudden my phone starts popping off. Yeah. Teotihuacan, boom.
Yeah. Paris was obviously asleep.
Terrorist cells awaken, boom. And I'm like, Shane, now I can't sleep for another 2 hours.
Well, you don't have to have your phone by your bed, right, or have it silenced.
I need it.
Yeah. What was funny is I think it might, I don't know if it was last night or this morning, but I remember just watching every one of the reels you sent. And I was like, Shane is in that part of Instagram.
You hit the
Mhm.
wrong
It's like
algorithm.
yeah,
the
he's
right
in the
algorithm, right?
apocalypse Tiwatwaki algorithm loop right now, and
Yeah, I
it's
was
awesome
definitely
because
stuck in that loop.
we're
But
gonna
it
talk more
opened
about
my
it in our
eyes.
next episode.
Yeah, it opened my eyes some more. I'm always, want my eyes to open a little bit more. And just to see, I mean, obviously I take everything with a grain of salt. It's not usually what it's represented to be,
Mhm.
but so obviously there's a lot going on worldwide. We don't see it all. We can't see it all. We can't verify much of any of it, right?
True.
All we can do is work to be prepared, right? So these things, especially energy, absolutely, at least I'll speak for myself, I take for granted. I mean, don't even think about most of our energy other than, like I say, I got to run down to fill up the tank, on the truck. The natural gas comes right into the house. We got grid power. Power is relatively cheap where we are. And it's just something that most people don't think about, I think, because we take it for granted. It's always there. It's super reliable. I mean, can't tell you when the last power went out last at our place here. So
Last week.
yours?
We had the power go out for an hour last week. I was like, whoa, this
Fun.
is fun. And I'm like, all right, here's what we're going to do. And then by the time I was like, explain everything to the kids, it's like, beep, we're back in them all. I was like, but we were going to have fun. The pre-apocalypse test run. Like, and
that's where you run down to the breaker box and just shut them all down.
Right.
Oh, we went back out again.
Well, it was hot. Like, so I'm actually glad it turned back on because I'm a wimp. Like my favorite invention of all time, central air
conditioning.
It's better than sliced bread. Like everyone says the best thing since sliced bread. This is better than sliced bread.
Well, I don't know. Bread can keep you alive better than
you can chew on a loaf. You don't need to slice it. Like air conditioning
that's true. You don't have to slice.
Well, here's the thing though. Like in analyzing and preparing all the time, how much pop quiz time? How much energy does a typical American household use? Only, and I'm not asking you like kilowatts. I'm asking you what percentage of monthly energy is consumed by, and don't look it up, your furnace and AC unit, the combined usage of those.
Well, AC is very high, obviously.
Is it like averaged out over the year or is it summertime?
Just average.
10%.
Nope.
If it's AC, it's definitely upward, closer to 50%, I think.
So during the summer months, your AC is going to run about 60% of your total energy.
Wow.
During the winter, your furnace is going to run about, depending on the furnace, the age, and the home, right? The bigger issue here is your insulation. But your heating is going to run anywhere from 50 to 30%. But they're not taking into consideration the cost of the gas coming into the house to pay for that. So this is just your electric side. So they say the average home year-round is spending between 20 to 50% of their electricity usage is consumed by those two devices. That's crazy. So in a grid down scenario, I've always tried to plan myself so that I'm like, those are gone. What can I power? What's important that I continue to power, right? I've got panels and I've got backup batteries to power my fridge, power my freezer, power my CPAP, power an electric griddle so I can continue to cook and not worry about anything else. But I'll be honest, it's going to suck. It's going to be hot when it's hot and it's going to be cold when it's cold. But that's why I have my heating solutions, right? But let's dive into what are the different options. Like as you plan, right? Think about what you have, what you need, and what you want. But let's talk about what you can use to go farther longer.
Well, I think we need to keep in mind that wood is energy. It's a form of energy, right? Whether it's coal, whether it's wood, whatever you're burning. And so we're not just talking about solar or wind or hydro. I've got a big list here as well. It's all different types of fuel, which are energy. And there's other forms we could talk about as well. But so we just need to get creative and get prepared, right? All of us have, or most of us have, just conventional heat, conventional air conditioning, right? There are other ways to cool our home, to heat our home, if we're ready, if we're prepared, and we have that alternative energy source, such as wood, and a means to get more.
Yeah, I need to get, I don't have a fireplace in my house, so I have a fire pit out back, but that's not going to help much because I don't want to be out back in the middle of the snowstorm. So I was thinking about getting one of those, what do they call them? The potbelly.
Yeah, a little potbelly cast iron stove.
Cast iron stoves, and trying to figure out some way to jimmy rig a tunnel out the wall to kind of keep it warm, and
So
the exhaust. So
you live in Utah. You have a Ernst, what is Smith and
Wesson?
Smith and Edwards?
No, Smith and Edwards. Yeah. You've also got a couple different Ace Hardware stores typically have these as well.
Did you actually say Ernst?
What was that? What?
Did you actually say Ernst?
I did. I don't know where that came from.
Ernst has been gone for like 30 years
really?
or so, bro. A long, long time.
So was that part of
hey, I'm impressed.
Edwards? I don't know.
Definitely different. But anyway, I'll shut up.
No, you're good. You mock me all you want because it's accurate. But I found like you can get a glass door sliding insert, lockable, that has a flue escape valve, not valve, but like a temperature grommet, so you can actually run your flue out your window or out your sliding glass door. So you pop your screens out, run it out, and it works. They've got a 4-inch and a 5-inch one that I've seen at Smith and Edwards, and I've also seen it at Ace Hardware, but not all the time. So you can check. You can probably find it on Amazon, but that way you can actually use your house normally, and then when it's time, you can roll in your potbelly stove and run it as an emergency backup, right? We've got one in the garage, but I've also got 2 fireplaces. But I've got the flue and I've got the evacuation port. That's what's called evacuation port that connects to my window, and I can just run it out the kitchen window.
I'm Googling it.
You
just like hang it out like a hose or something out the back?
Well, no, the piping is solid, right? And you just got to have a temperature evacuation port thing. I'll see if I can find one, but it's basically a little silicone, not even silicone. It's a little grommet, rubber grommet type thing that goes around the pipe. And it's
high temp silicone, yeah.
High temp silicone. Thank you. And then it's inside of a fitted metal or fiberglass, just rectangle, and then that screws into a board, and then you put the board into the window. They even have ones that are actually designed to fit certain heights and stuff, kind of like an accessible doggy door, right, for your house, for your sliding glass door. You can probably just use that, put in a silicone grommet, and flip it upside down, hope it doesn't melt, but right, find something that works.
Yeah, and there's other ways you could improvise that as well. So sticking your wood burning stove, the chimney, the flue, the vent out obviously out your window. So I thought about that as well. I have for my home, I have a barrel stove. I mean, I've got a gas fireplace, so that should work in a power outage. It does require a little bit of power. I can hook that up to one of my power banks, but hopefully natural gas will will continue to flow in an emergency, unless it's maybe an earthquake, when that can get disrupted. So I would prefer, of course, a wood stove. And so I have a barrel stove that I would need to improvise, like you're saying, Scott, through a window or through the kitchen sliding glass door to help heat the house, preferably in the basement, right? So heat rises, but have something, some kind of alternative way to heat. When we talk a lot about propane, of course, a more convenient, easier way are the propane buddy stoves.
Yep.
That are indoor safe, and there's other options as well.
Yeah, I got another one too. Every once in a while, Costco has a sale on those buddy heaters, and I picked one up last time they had a sale. I have 2 of them now, and so it's like those are good for staying in one room, which is what you should probably consolidate when you're in an emergency, anyways, and just get everybody in one place. So that way, your body heat's helping to kind of keep it may not be 20 degrees better because of all the body heat, but it's 2 or 3 or 5. It helps, keep things warmer with everybody. And then the buddy heater is to very limited area. So you got to remember that.
Well, there's different sizes too. There's pretty large ones. I even tried one of these construction site cannons. Have you seen those?
Yeah.
Those heat cannons.
Salamander or
salamander.
Here.
So not good for closed spaces.
No.
It burns through your oxygen real fast.
Yeah.
But it does warm up real quick. Like you will get a lot of heat out of those. So if you want to bring it in, run it for 5 minutes with the windows open,
or stick it at a door where it can be blowing into that structure, into the house.
Yeah.
I have that as one of my methods as well. It's one of the propane, and propane ones are not called salamanders. They're just I forget what they're called, but fairly inexpensive at your Home Depots and Lowe's and so forth.
Mm-hmm. So I found the chimney pipe stove adapter, 6-inch wall insulated. They're $55 on Amazon. They're not very good, but you can connect that to a 6-inch stainless steel chimney top plate that you can then bolt that to a wood panel and shove it through your door, and it gives you the kind of the barrier, the heat exchange, so it doesn't burn anything or light anything on fire. There was one that used to be everything all in one. It was like $150 at Smith & Edwards. So I'll have to check with Ace, but those are the places. But yeah, I love having the option for my wood stove because we've got wood saved. I also love having my buddy heaters because we've got tons of propane, and propane just doesn't go bad. Like it. The only problem I have with propane is that I get barbecue crazy and I start using it all. Then I got to go replace it. Don't ever do the bottle exchanges. Have you guys ever replaced your propane?
Yeah,
I have. Yeah,
those bottle exchanges are nice, right? They're great. You're spending 3 times the cost,
spending more
propane.
money. However, your tanks do need to be recertified on occasion. So at that point, instead of purchasing a new tank, just exchange it. They'll recertify it. You get a certified tank back. But yeah, I guess one of my last little comments about wood stoves, we move on to the next topic, is Amazon has a lot of components for wood stoves.
Mm-hmm.
They really do, like wood stove chimney pipe kits. Obviously, the double and triple insulated, like you need to have to meet code, are very expensive. And you should spend the money on it. But just the single wall, like you say, with some type of sleeve through a window for temporary heating, you got to be really careful about this, right? We don't want your house to burn down. But in an emergency, right? This is not advice. This is entertainment show, right? We're not telling you what you should do. Just giving you some thoughts and some ideas. But Amazon has a lot of. That's where I got all mine for my barrel stove. So barrel stove with a stove kit to build your own stove, and it's very inexpensive that way. Find a 55-gallon drum somewhere locally, and you can build the stove plus a secondary 55-gallon drum to capture heat and radiate it within the room, and then out your stovepipe. So there's a lot of different things you can do to improvise, but make sure you do it safely, even in an emergency, because it would be even a bigger emergency if you lost your shelter, right?
Yeah.
So on the propane tanks, so they typically come certified with a 12-year manufacturing timeline. At that 12-year mark, you need to recertify them every 5 years going forward.
Interesting.
And they have a stamped manufacturer date on it. So look at the dates on your cans. If they're not recertified, swap them out. Otherwise, go fill it up. Just filling it up at a propane dealer is a lot cheaper. But I love propane gas. It lasts a long time. I use it for cooking, use it for obviously for heating. Super, super efficient.
And of course, the larger.
Well, I was just going to say one thing to remember on those buddy heaters. If you're going to use the big 5-gallon tanks, you got to have an adapter.
Yes.
So that otherwise, because the buddy heaters, the ones you buy at Costco, usually that's just for the little smaller green ones.
Smaller 1 pound.
Yeah, so we definitely want to have an adapter so that you can connect the bigger tank to that buddy heater and let it crank. And it really does. The buddy heaters, I tested it actually, and I went camping with one, and I let it run. I went crazy. I guess I was like, let's roll the dice here, and I went to bed and let it run. And at one point when I woke up in the morning, it had fallen over, and it turned off. It didn't keep going. So I know they work when they do have, at least mine worked. Hopefully you don't get one that's like a lemon with some kind of weird, anomaly that doesn't work. But mine worked when it tipped over, it turned off. So there are some safety features embedded in those. I would definitely do it if I was to do it again. I would definitely put it, bring some kind of like wood piece of something to put it on that makes it a little more secure, so I don't kick it or whatever it happens to knock it over. But yeah, that's definitely something to think about. So.
And I guess while we're talking about heat, another great thing you can find on Amazon is a diesel space heater. You can find them for $100 to $200-$300 for a little bit better ones. But from what I've seen review wise, even the less expensive ones will heat really well. You need to bring fresh air in. It has a fresh air tube, and then it runs off diesel. Diesel stores much better than gasoline. It's much safer. It's not nearly as volatile as unleaded gasoline is.
Yep.
And hopefully you have a diesel backup generator. There's not as many uses for diesel here in the U.S., right, as unleaded. It's just the way it is.
It's because our EPA wants us all to die.
Well, yeah, they think
for educational
diesel
purposes.
is because it burns dirty. It seems to burn dirtier. That it's it's ugly and people don't want to see that. But it actually has a cleaner exhaust than unleaded gasoline. It just looks dirtier.
I meant to say for entertainment purposes. Sorry about that.
Well, okay. Yes, absolutely.
But okay, so yeah, there's like the Vivor brand has a lot of really good ones for $85 to $100 starting out.
It's expensive, yeah.
Most of them do require a power source as well.
True. Yeah, you got to run a fan. You run an igniter, so you got to plug it in.
Other than that, it's a low. There's some even that you can actually plug in, charge it, and then use it for a while, and then you have to recharge it later, right? They have onboard batteries. So there's a lot of different options there. Fantastic. I love diesel. I miss my diesel truck very much. The maintenance on it was so little compared to my regular fuel vehicles. I'm going to go get another one.
Well, and along those same lines, kerosene is also similar to diesel as well. It stores longer. It is, of course, less volatile. From what I've seen, the appliances you can get, like heaters, are not as easy to find. There's not as many options in the kerosene side compared to propane, or maybe even diesel at this point. But kerosene, I've had some kerosene gallons stored for at least a decade, and some have evaporated a little bit. That's where it seems that their loss is just through evaporation, through the heat and cool cycles. But that is also a more safe way to heat, other than not as safe as good as propane.
Yeah.
And diesel, I don't compared the two, I don't really know which one might be better. But it seems like diesel is a little bit more have more options than kerosene.
Well, also going back on the propane, I have a dual fuel generator, right? Mm-hmm. Generators are louder, yeah, I get it. Run it in my garage, have an air intake for it, but having some sort of power is better than having none. And I know a lot of preppers will poo-poo on me for saying this, but absolutely everybody should have a gas type generator, and if you can afford it, a battery bank with panels, right? Those are the two simple solutions. But having a gas or propane generator, you've still got to do maintenance. Even when you're not using it, you've got to check it, fire it up a couple times a year, make sure things are working. Anything you get, you want to do maintenance on. Even if you get the battery bank systems and panels, you still have to go through charge cycles to make sure. I think it's once a year you've got to bring it all the way down to zero.
Yeah, at least once.
Yeah, at least once. Okay. You got to bring it all the way down to zero and then let it fully charge, right? So that it maintains the battery life. Otherwise, it will greatly degrade your length of being able to use it. And most of those are only good 8 to 10 years anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta take care of it, everything, just so it lasts.
But yet you brought up a great point there too with propane and dual fuel generators. Unleaded gas is difficult to store more than 20 gallons or 30 gallons. It can get pretty dangerous, and it takes up a lot of space, and it's not, and it is only good for 2 years, and you got to recycle it. You got to recycle it in your vehicle or something like that. Whereas with propane, you fill up a bunch of 20 pounders or even get a 100-pound or bigger tank. You don't have to do anything. You just store it, and it's a lot more safe, and it doesn't get old. that, in my opinion, is a much better way for long-term storage to have propane in a dual fuel generator than to have to get ethanol-free gas in your generator, run it at least on a quarterly basis, make sure it stays tuned up. Whereas with propane, you really don't have to worry about a lot of those things. Obviously, you got to change the oil and such, but you don't have stale fuel getting old inside your generator to where you've got to, it can cause big problems if you don't use ethanol free, and it starts to varnish up and ruin your motor. So propane is excellent for that.
What's funny is I was on Sunday, I think we were talking, my wife and I were talking, we had our kids were all over. We had a conversation last week about some emergency stuff, and my wife was like, yeah, we have a generator, so we're good. And I'm like, yeah, we also have a power bank too. And she's like, we do? I'm like, yeah, it's in the closet. You know what I mean? So it's also important to make sure that everybody in your family knows what you have, so that they can all and they all can use it. Because if I'm out and about and something happens, she needs to be able to know how to know where she can go to get stuff and get things working. Because not always are you going to be at home when the power goes out or nearby. You might be on a work trip and your wife's at home, or vice versa. And everybody needs to know how to make sure those things power up and how to turn them on and where they are. And I said, the power bank's in our closet and the panels are downstairs in our storage unit, or we have a storage room downstairs in our basement. And she's like, oh, it was just fun to be able to remind her of that. So make sure that everybody knows what you have. I was in preparation to this, I was thinking to myself, I need to take my power bank out and since it's summer, might as well take advantage of the sunlight. Although today it rained, it was kind of weird. Today was a little overcast and rainy where I am. So I'm going to take it out probably, maybe not this week, but because there's a bunch of family stuff we're doing tomorrow and for the 4th of July. As of the recording of this video, it's going to be the 4th of July in a couple of days, which is a celebration here in America. And so probably next week I'll take it out and run it up and see how it works. And even do like you said, do my propane and my dual fuel. Because I put gas in it when I first started it. When I first got it, I put gas in it, started it up, learned how to use it. And I think this time I want to do it with propane and learn how to use it
just plug your fridge into your power bank. That'll burn it up pretty quick. Nice. Burn it down overnight, less than 24 hours or so. So that's a good way to cycle through your battery bank. If you have a large enough battery bank that's will power your fridge, right? 600 watts or more.
I bought the Anchor. What did I buy? The Anchor.
Yeah, I think yours is large enough. I think you can plug into your fridge. Yeah.
Yeah, they said it was. So we'll see.
Well, you better find out, brother.
I know, right?
Yeah. You better find out now before.
Yeah,
before it's too late. I thankfully have a fridge in the garage where the plug is real easy to get access to. The one in the house, it's like built into the darn wall.
You roll it out. Well, and I think that reminds me of one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this too, is that there's an agenda out there. We all know this, right? If you're watching mainstream, or if you're watching at least the mainstream headlines, right? That's all I try to watch. Is there's definitely agenda toward. Of course, we've said it before. You'll own nothing, right? And you'll be happy. And along those same lines goes, oh, you're going to use less. We're going to use more, but you're going to use less. You won't be able to pay for it, because obviously our bills are going up. The cost of electricity, the cost of everything, right? Not just electricity, gas, any kind of energy is going up. And I believe that's on purpose. There's an agenda, and obviously supply chain has its issues, and that's not getting any better. Just a lot of weaknesses in the system out there, which, if you're conspiracy minded like me, a lot of this is on purpose. And I think some of it will be through natural disasters, through just the timeline of, the last days to the second coming is things will fall apart. And talking about, of course, self-sufficient. That's why we're talking about this, right? Self-sufficiency for, of course, living a better life. I think it's a better life for me, a more self-sufficient, more simple life, but for the difficult times that we know are coming. And, and again, watching those shorts, when I was sending you guys all those shorts last night, just really, I wouldn't say open my eyes a little bit more to really what's going on in the world, because we're in our own little corner here. You know, we live in a pretty place called Happy Valley. You know, Scott, you're outside of Happy Valley. But Paris and I are here in Happy Valley, and unless you're looking, you don't see what's really going on in the world. And most people choose not to, and I don't fault them for it, right? I don't encourage people to depress themselves, right? Become depressed or have anxiety, right? I mean, because we're all trying to avoid that. But
yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, you can avoid that by being prepared, right? If you're prepared, shall not fear. And I mean, I'm going a little bit off track, but if you're Bible believing, if you believe the scriptures, we know where things are going. And of course, if you believe it, right? If you believe the scriptures, which I do, and seeing all the signs and everything that's going on, that's the reason I'm doing this, and I know that's the reason you guys are doing this, and that's why why we need to talk about these things.
Well, what's interesting is you're not even talking about the point that they use everything that they classify as limited supply as control mechanisms, right?
Yep.
There's no limited supply in petrol. It's naturally occurring in the ground. They pump it out, and they've created a fossil fuel motif around it so they can gouge the price, right? What's interesting to me is that's happening with all types of fuel, right? Propane, natural gas,
energy. Yeah.
They can then turn into your social credit score and say, oh, I'm sorry, you burnt too much last month. We're going to cut you off for 2 months, right? That's what's coming.
Yep.
That's what I'm concerned more about, because it's like, okay, so if I get cut off at a certain point, I'll have these as my backups, right? But also knowing that we've got, like, our power went out last week for an hour. But also, have you guys noticed your cell service getting more spotty? Have you noticed your internet services going up and down more often? Have you noticed your access to banking and cards not working as often in the last 90 days versus the last few years before?
Definitely internet in and out in my
TV.
I don't know about the cell phone or banking, but definitely
bad coverage. I've noticed some more spotty coverage in certain places.
More spotty coverage in areas that were really good before. But why? Right?
Little by little, increment by increment, right? Taking things away.
Absolutely. I think that's the bigger problem. And what I don't want to get into, but I'm on the edge of it, so might as well say it. Like, with what's going on with Russia, Ukraine, Iran, like, cyber warfare is very real and very present. Cyber warfare is the most efficient method of disruption right now, as well as economic warfare. Right? Those are the two biggest effective tools against the United States right now. So having your own energy source.
Well, especially with Iran threatening to close the Strait of Hormuz.
Yep.
We definitely, I mean, I think they did. I haven't followed up on it, but they were threatening to do it. And that is going to shut down all those tankers over there, oil tankers, which means we're going to have. Now, does the United States have the resources to turn it on and get all the stuff that's over there that we're shipping? Yeah, but it'll take a minute,
take 9 months.
What's funny is that I was talking to somebody earlier is that the hotter the minute, the longer the minute is. So it would take a hot minute to get it up and running. That's the vernacular of the kids these days, I guess, right? I think that, yes, America can turn it on and get it going, and we don't need to worry about that, but it will take a couple months probably for us to get ramped up to where we need to be in order for that to happen. And that's the Strait of Hormuz is important. And that's why it's important for us to store as much fuel as possible. Now, I know somebody's going to ask while they're listening, they probably already asked, Ferris, how do we store fuel, gasoline? Well, you get the 5-gallon, 6-gallon, red cans, and then you put stable or some other liquid in there that stabilizes it, and that's actually what it's called, STAB-IL, I think, stable or something like that.
Yeah, there's a number of different ways you can do that. Yeah,
but that's something that I just want to make sure everybody knows who's listening, who may not know that you can pour that in. Then there's a little thing on the side that tells you how much to pour in of those 5-gallon things, and then that really helps you keep the gasoline longer than it would by itself. So it's important to put one of those in there, however many ounces it is in there, to keep that gasoline stable while it's in storage.
But also make sure to start with ethanol-free gas, unleaded
Where do
fuel.
you even get that anymore?
Pretty much. Well, I wouldn't say. It seems like there are more gas stations now offering the ethanol-free. It's the blue label. It's a blue tag that you see on the gas pumps. It'll say ethanol-free, like 88 or 87 or 89, somewhere around there. And that's what I use for all my gas cans, because it basically with what the Stable does, it helps neutralize the ethanol in there, and it's the ethanol that will ruin your small motors. I mean, even car motors, if the gas sits there, and I forget the process, but the ethanol ruins your engine components. So you need to keep that circulating and cycling, or like you say, use Stable to neutralize that, or just get ethanol free and then add your stabilizer to it. I prefer Seafoam. I use Seafoam for everything because it's just one thing for everything. But Stable is, and there are other products out there as well.
So what's interesting, going back on the Strait of Hormuz, that will affect the U.S. a little bit. Less than 7% of our fuel supply comes through the Strait of Hormuz. So it's a small effect. However, China gets 40% of their fuel through the Strait of Hormuz. So guess who Iran was going to mess over the most?
Their buddy
ally. So it's really interesting, like how all these things, all these different power plays work against or for each other, right? I don't think that anybody's as buddy as they say they are, right? I think everything is backdoor deals, fingers crossed, handshakes, like in the international space, because everyone's trying to look out for their own self-interest.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really interesting because if our governments are doing it that way with the world, shouldn't we be considered on the other side of that finger crossed handshake from our government? Like, I know us as preppers, we already think that way, but we need to let our friends, our family, and everyone else we know to think the same way. Like, this is what they're doing to their enemies. What do you think they're doing to us?
Right.
Because they don't care about us. They care about themselves. And that's the sad thing about our government, our state of affairs with our government leaders, our representatives. But that's just how it is. So having your own backup energy solution is vital in the coming days.
So just in the last couple of minutes, let's just quick do a rundown on, like, I know I've seen on, again, Reels algorithms as I'm doing my thing. I've seen these windmill. Well, they're like, you can, no, I've seen one. The one I'm talking about, actually, Shane, sorry, is one you put in the water, and as the river passes by it, it like turns it and creates
micro hydro.
Yeah. So there's a hydro way to create power. If you live near a stream, or you need some charging there, that's something that you can use, especially if you're out and about. That's like, those are portable from what I understand. So that will give you an opportunity to have something there. And then you can create wind turbine. There's like portable, like not portable, but there's like personal sized wind turbines that you can put up that can give you some energy as well. For, I'm sure it's not that huge, but it's definitely something that can be available. So what we've talked about so far is from wood. We've talked about propane. We've talked about diesel. We've talked about power banks with electricity and charging. We've talked about water, hydro, and we've talked about the wind a little bit. What else can we talk about in the last couple minutes before we got to?
I can expound a little bit on the wind and solar. I actually had a small business where I did wind and solar in the early 2000s, kind of before everything kind of kicked off. So my education is outdated, I'm sure, right? But we have the power banks. Those didn't really exist back then. If they did, that you had to build them yourself, right? And so that's kind of where I go. You can build your own power bank. You can build your own solar power system on from very small scale to very large scale, and that takes a little bit of knowledge, not a whole lot, honestly. Everything nowadays there's a lot of plug and play. It can be very easy, and you can really adapt your system, build it according to your needs, and incorporate some wind power as well. A small wind turbine. They make residential wind turbines from a couple of 100 watts to several thousand watts, which can be, like you say, temporary. You can move them around, And I've even seen some portable wind turbines as well, and portable water micro hydro turbines as well for backpacking or hiking. I'm sure they would work in a lot of other applications as well. But batteries. Before we talked about batteries a little bit because of the supply chain, right, and the tariffs, and most of these things are made in China and overseas, and especially all these components, all these solar components, solar panels, everything pretty much comes from China, Taiwan, and so forth. So as things continue to get worse, I would say really consider getting your components, getting those things first, if that's what you're part of your plan, before they become more expensive and more difficult to get. And at least get those components in and have them on hand. Put them in Faraday bags, and just in case, right? That's me. That's what I do. But and we could get really in depth in there. I know we're pretty much out of time, but batteries, rechargeable flashlights. That's obviously most things have already gone that way. They're gone toward lithium batteries, but you got to have a way to charge your cell phone, right? You got to have a way to jumpstart your car, just in case. There's a great battery banks, all different sizes and portable. I don't know. I'm kind of hot on those types of devices because I use them all the time.
Yeah. And there's great storage units. Anything else, Scott, you want to say? Just wrapping up.
I just look at your options. Consider the space you have. Consider the energy usage you have, and find a solution that works for that. Right? If you're confused and you need a little help, join our group over on Facebook, Emergency Prep and Self-Reliance. There's a lot of really intelligent people in there that can help you understand what your options are better. And then we share different products in there as well. Like, I was repping solar for a little while, and it's funny because those guys sell products for about 3 times what they're worth so that you can get a third of it off when you get your tax rebate, right? You can find everything cheaper by going through a wholesaling company and building it yourself, and less than half of what it would have cost if you gone through retail, and even another 30% less than if you'd have bought it from somebody door to door. Like, just be wise about what you're buying and how you're buying it. And I'm looking at one right now. It's called the Walrus. It's a 22 kilowatt hour rolling battery bank with a 12.5 K inverter. And it's like, that's on my list of research, right? So go do your research. You've got time right now. Do it. Figure it out. And if you can afford it, go buy it. If you can't, wait a little while until you can.
Start saving up.
Don't go into debt to buy these things, right? Unless you know that the grid's going down tomorrow. And if you do, please let us know, right? Because we'd like to know as well. Love the insider info. But yeah, just take responsibility. Cancel an extra vacation and put that money towards the things your family needs.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for listening to Prepper Talk Radio, Radio for the Ready-Minded, the podcast for the prepared, where we discuss today in our episode alternative sources of power and energy and how we can stay warm, stay cool, keep the lights on all throughout whatever emergency or whatever natural disaster might hit us, from grid down to just a natural disaster of some kind. So thank you so much. Share this episode with your friends and let us know if you have any thoughts, feelings, or ideas about alternative sources of energy that you've tried that you think are good. We'd love to hear from you at preppertalkradio@gmail.com. You can shoot us a message or join our Facebook group and let us know in there. Until the next time, guys, have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.
See you next week.